Bonjour, shalom, hello, and welcome to our 6th episode of our 2nd season of Calling an Audible, a podcast focusing on national, regional, and local sports news stories with our own special twist. My name is Zach Greenberg, and along with Greg Johnson, we are your hosts. Today we'll be talking about a ton of breaking news out of Major League Baseball, the NFL, the CFL, much to my liking, and the NBA. We'll talk a little bit about some wacky sports news and some breaking news out of UMC in a little bit to wrap it up. But out of Major League Baseball, this was just announced literally 2 minutes ago. Bryce Harper just signed a 13-year, $330 million contract, and that is the biggest contract in the history of Major League Baseball. Greg, big baseball guy over there, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm speechless. I really don't know what to say about that, other than the man got paid, and deservedly so.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's going to be making $44,000 some dollars every time he steps to the plate, I think Darryl Rovell said. But to be completely honest, there's got to be an opt-out clause, kind of like how Stanton has it. I believe Stanton has an opt-out clause every 3-4 years in his contract. I'd almost imagine Bryce has that.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out details from that contract probably pretty soon. But, we were just sitting here getting ready to record when this news was announced. So, very breaking news.
When your phone blows up and you're like, holy crap. I mean, this is big news.
With this current contract, he'll be 39 when he's out of this contract. Unless there's opt-out agreements, like you said. But we'll know more of that in probably the coming hours.
This is a straight-up career contract. He's not going to go anywhere. And I don't think anyone would ever take on that contract to begin with for a trade. I'm almost going to bet he's got some sort of no-trade clause somewhere buried in there, too, that activates after a certain year. So it's really hard to understand where he'd go from beyond the Phillies after he turns 39. So it's very much to say that, he's a Philly for the rest of his life now, which I feel bad for the national fan base because they drafted him when he was 18.
Yeah, and he did good things for the Nationals for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, but I guess they didn't put enough guys around him to win the big one. But I don't know how weird. Philadelphia is going to do that for him, but
they're slowly rebuilding in their first. They're going to make a run at Mike Trout when he's a free agent come, I think, 2 years from now. But it's weird because the Nationals, they had the talent, they have the pitching, they have the upcoming youth in their farm system and the current outfielders they have. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Nationals they're not going to be any more worse than what they were without Bryce Harper. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. They might even do better. I guess we'll wait and see and find out, but this really sets the market for current MLB contracts, which I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, a contract that sets precedent for, all other players that are going to perform like him in the future. And, 5 years from now, we're going to see one that's $350 million, maybe even next year. It could happen at any point. But, these long-term deals are what these players want because it's that extra level of security, going into their future. Because now Bryce Harper doesn't have to worry about money for the rest of his life. No, and neither do his kids and probably his grandkids.
It must be nice being able to retire before 40.
Yeah.
I got to say that.
And not do anything for the rest of your life.
Yeah, in case some random happenstance circumstance where he gets injured really badly, he's still got how many ever years left on his contract. So, I mean, that's great to see.
Yeah.
But to move on, some breaking news out of Philly. Nick Foles will not be franchise tagged.
Yeah, that doesn't come as a surprise. I mean, I thought that they should have traded him a while back, but Nick Foles, so? Well, because they have Carson Wentz and they have everything invested into Carson Wentz, but clearly Nick Foles can still play. But my worry is,
my opinion.
You said what?
Better than Wentz, in my opinion. Philadelphia as a team and a unit and a consistent family play better under Foles than they do Wentz.
I mean, last year, but the year before in Philadelphia, they were I think they went 13-3 that year, and 13 or 12 of those wins were from Wentz.
Yep.
Before he got hurt,
tore his ACL.
Yeah, and then they won the Super Bowl. But I think a good landing spot for Foles would be Jacksonville. Jacksonville's obviously had a lot of quarterback problems in the past, and Foles might be able to solve that, might not, but they're definitely in need of a quarterback with Blake Bortles' situation there.
I almost wonder if Miami and Oakland would also be suitable.
Yeah, I think they would. I mean, I think Gruden's a big fan of Derek Carr, so I don't know.
I've been hearing rumors throughout the interweb.
Is that kind of shifted?
Yeah, there's some talk coming out of Oakland that he's going to take a quarterback in this year's draft because he's got, 4 first-round draft picks?
Yeah, they have a lot.
They can easily trade up.
That's what happens when you get rid of the best defensive player in the league. You get a lot of picks in return.
Well, they didn't get... I think what happened was they banked on Chicago not being that good, so they wanted a middle of the first-round pick because they figured Chicago would be a 500 team and not a top-tier team.
That's what most people expected them to be, but then they ended up being better than both the Packers and the Vikings this year.
Huge shock, in my opinion. But
I think that just comes down to the coaching and the scheming
game management
that they had, and that was all pretty good. But some more news out of the NFL. Jason Witten of Monday Night Football has just come out of retirement today.
Thank God.
And this comes as a surprise to most people, but to me it really doesn't, because the Cowboys have shown a lot of progress and they can play. I think Dak Prescott is carried by Ezekiel Elliott because, it was proven when Zeke was out, Prescott was terrible.
Oh, the Cowboys are terrible without him.
Without Zeke. But Zeke is such a problem, and now with Amari Cooper there, and you throw Jason Witten in there who can still get it done as a possession receiving tight end.
Yep.
They'll have a good... I hate the Cowboys, but they'll have a good shot of making the NFC Championship next year with that roster.
Heck no, dude.
They made the divisional round this year.
Because they're in a crappy division.
And they're still in a crappy division.
They have Washington without a quarterback.
Right.
I feel sorry for Alex Smith, but he just basically broke his leg like Joe Theismann.
Right. Alex Smith probably won't ever play football again.
And if he does, he won't be the same, which I feel sorry for Washington because he just signed him that huge contract
and
extension.
The Giants suck. Odell Beckham requested a trade.
Officially?
Yeah, that was that was released a couple weeks ago, and that Bill Belichick was trying to get him last season.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they had Odell on that team?
Well, there's your Super Bowl winners for the next 3 years.
But really, the division is just between the Cowboys and the Eagles. And
it wasn't even between the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Well, the Eagles ended up making
the wild card.
But
yeah, I mean, that division's
it depends on Wentz's health next year. But right now, the Cowboys are the clear-cut favorite in that division, in my opinion.
Shouldn't be, but you're right.
But
they're not going to get to the NFC Championship.
I think. Why can't they? The
Saints, the Rams.
Why the Saints though?
Look how they played, dude.
This year, and Drew Brees is another year older.
He's 40, still playing at an freaking...
And the Cowboys beat the Saints this year.
Probably out of sheer luck.
No, they beat them in a good defensive game.
Fair enough, but I'm just saying the Saints aren't going to go down quietly.
They're not going to go down quietly, and the Packers will be back, and the Vikings will still be decent.
You think the Packers will be back?
Why not? They got a new coach. That's all they needed to do.
Yeah, okay, man.
All they needed to do was get a new coach. And everything's fixed.
Man, I don't know about that. The Vikings need a new quarterback and everything would be fixed, but that didn't happen. That coach isn't going to fix it.
No. Yet in Green Bay, the coach will fix it. Because I think that Rodgers respects LaFleur, and we'll see. I mean, we're going to see what happens regardless, but...
I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how the NFL season turns out. Then next year I can say, oh, hey, how'd that look for you? But maybe I'll eat my own words. You never know.
Johnny Manziel. Haven't talked about him in a while, but...
no news was good news until today.
Absolutely, and he's been in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, last season. He didn't have a very good season, but that, the CFL is it's the same sport, but it's a different game. So having played American football your whole life, there's a bit of a learning curve going to play in Canada. So, but Johnny Manziel has been banned or blackballed, if you will, from the CFL after violating terms in his agreement with the Montreal Alouettes. And the details of that, the CFL wouldn't release and Montreal wouldn't release, but Johnny Manziel's camp released that, as a part of his agreement to make him eligible to play in the CFL, he had to go to weekly meetings, get lithium tests and stuff like that monthly to look for, stuff in his system and stuff like that. And apparently he was not going to every checkup and stuff like that. And they never said he failed anything, but the fact that he wasn't going was enough for them to deem that he violated his contract.
Gave him a red flag.
Right. And the CFL has stated that if any team tries to pursue him, the contract's instantly null and void, and they're not going to go for it. So he's been effectively blackballed, but from the CFL. But
not like he had any success there anyway.
No, but he definitely could have adjusted. He's the perfect quarterback to play in the CFL.
You think so?
Yeah, the way he plays is perfect for the Canadian Football League because the field's so wide.
Okay,
so if you have a running quarterback, that's a big advantage.
So for the fans at home, what would you say the biggest differences between the NFL and the CFL are?
Well, downs first of all.
Okay.
Because in the CFL it's only 3 downs, so you see a lot more punting, but at the same time, when seeing a lot more punting, you see a lot more possessions. So with the increased amount of punting, there's a lot more scoring because there's a lot more possessions. So in the CFL, it's a lot more high scoring than the NFL. And a lot of people say that, like, Americans that watch CFL football, obviously it's not. But the game itself can be more entertaining because, there's a lot of passing. There's a lot of touchdowns to be seen, way more than that in the NFL. The NFL is obviously, much bigger, and fantasy sports takes over Sunday.
Yep.
But to me, and then the length and width of the field is much larger too in the Canadian game. So it's a bit of in the NFL you have 11 guys on each side of the ball. In the CFL you have 12. Receivers can run up to the line in the CFL. In the NFL they can't. So there's a variety of differences.
Okay, so similar to the arena football where you can have receivers moving before the snap.
Yeah, except it's not a 50-yard field; it's a 120-yard field.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's definitely interesting. Yeah, I could see how that'd be a big fit for a mobile quarterback such as himself.
Right. Lots of open space in a CFL field.
He had, from my understanding and my opinion, he had a great opportunity presented to him, but he has yet to figure out how to mature in life. From my understanding, he's still that party boy from Texas A&M that really
he always will be.
Yeah, some things just don't change in people.
Well, no, that's what happens when you grow up and have money like that, because he's had money since the day he was born. And when you have money, you go out and do things that might get you into trouble, and definitely got him into some trouble over his career so far.
How Johnny Manziel was raised definitely shows.
Absolutely.
So switching over to the NBA here, the Lakers are stumbling, and not in a good way. Granted, how could stumbling be a good way? But the biggest issue, LeBron or Co?
Co.
Really?
Yes.
Not LeBron?
I will never put it on LeBron ever because he's LeBron. But I'm just a big LeBron fan.
Just deferring the...
You can't put it on. He has really no supporting cast.
Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball.
Not as good as what he had in Cleveland. It's close. It's close, I think.
Name me 3 people that
Kevin Love, J.R. Smith.
You think J.R. Smith was a top caliber player?
When LeBron was there, he was.
I suppose because J.R. Smith was open, could just shoot threes all day long.
Right. And the way they're performing and the way their team chemistry looks right now, they're not going to make the playoffs. The Sacramento Kings will probably make the playoffs before them.
Yeah. When's the last time the Kings were relevant in basketball?
I don't think ever.
Maybe when Boogie was still with them?
It's been a while since the Kings have been relevant. But no, I just think this is the Lakers' first year. They really needed to get a superstar at the deadline if they wanted to compete in the West.
They really botched the Anthony Davis.
They definitely did, but this summer, they're for sure LeBron, the Los Angeles LeBrons are for sure going to go out and get a free agent this summer. Or, like, it could be Kevin Durant. Like, could you imagine the Lakers with LeBron and Kevin Durant? They're friends. They like each other. Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but no one wants to play with LeBron. That's proven.
Yes, they do.
No.
Okay, they don't, but at this point in LeBron's career, he's 34 years old. And he got hurt this year, which is, LeBron doesn't get hurt. because he's such a big presence.
Right.
And you're not going to get in his way when you have a 6'8", 280-pound guy driving on you. It's very difficult
nightmare
to stop that.
And you're right.
Yeah.
But imagine yourself as Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving second time around. You're already a legit NBA superstar. Are you going to want to play second fiddle again?
But I don't think they would be playing second fiddle.
You think LeBron would be second fiddle?
I think that anybody that comes in, LeBron and them have to look at it as the way LeBron and Dwayne Wade looked at the relationship in Miami. There was plenty of games where Dwayne Wade outperformed LeBron when they were together in Miami.
Right.
And I think that it can be the same thing in LA because LeBron, he wants more championships, obviously.
Yeah, he didn't go to Los Angeles to not win championships.
Right, and for him to do that, they need another superstar because they're not
100%.
going to get a championship with the Golden State Warriors in the West with just him and those
and also
those
Houston.
four. And Houston isn't even as good this year because all James Harden does is ball hog, and that doesn't always lead to victories. It leads to him getting 40 points a game, but doesn't lead to victories.
Fun fact, the Houston Rockets are undefeated when Chris Paul has 10-plus assists per game.
Right, but he's out now still, isn't he?
No, he's healthy.
Is he back?
He's healthy. That's why they're playing really good basketball right now.
Yeah.
But, the way I see it, and this is just my opinion, obviously you disagree, which is completely okay because that's why we're here. We don't always agree. I feel like we've been agreeing a lot the past few episodes, but this part is where we definitely differentiate on our opinion of LeBron, and that's fine. But I don't think Los Angeles is going to get a big superstar. They might get a credible name, but I don't think...
Like Kemba Walker?
I mean, that wouldn't hurt them, but I don't see Kemba go.
I
think Kemba wants to stay in Charlotte. I think he wants to stay.
I don't see Kemba
there.
helping them, really, to be honest.
No, but Kevin Durant, he's either going to go to New York or stay in Golden State. Klay Thompson has no interest in Los Angeles Lakers.
No.
Let's see, who else?
Kyrie would.
I think Kawhi's...
And Kawhi would, too.
No, I think Kawhi's staying in Toronto.
I think Kawhi will stay in Toronto, too. I think he likes it in Toronto. But
yeah, they definitely made him feel at home.
Yeah.
Especially when he was skeptical when he first got there, which kudos to Toronto.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But a little bit bigger news is Dirk Nowitzki pondering one more year. Is that good call, bad call?
It's a terrible call. This year is his swan song, per se. Like,
even though he's never officially announced retirement?
He hasn't announced retirement, but, like, his minutes have dropped. He's not a starter anymore. He can barely, like, in the All-Star game he was hitting threes, but, like, when I went and saw him in Dallas, I saw him, like, it was very close to an air ball on a three-pointer, and that's, like, it's obvious signs of slowing down. And I think that Dirk will stay with the Mavericks, but I think it'll be in a different type of
kind
role.
of like how KG came back to the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
in a more of a mentorship kind of role.
Maybe, because he will be a great mentor for both Luka and Kristaps. So I think like Mark Cuban should, and Mark Cuban loves Dirk Nowitzki, obviously. So if he's going to want to keep Dirk around. So I don't think if I was Dirk, I'd be done. But, at the same time, the man likes playing basketball, so...
Why give up something you love?
Right. If he's okay with the loss in minutes and playing time, then...
Yeah, I'm sure he'll probably take a decent pay cut, too, along with that.
Yeah.
But I could see Dirk one day being the head coach of the Mavericks. That's definitely in the foreseeable future. I don't see why he wouldn't be.
I mean, the Mavericks aren't very good right now, so...
They're building for the future.
No, yeah,
even though they gave up a bunch of first-round draft picks. Which,
next year I think they're going to be...
When Kristaps is healthy and ready to go.
A mean force next year, for sure.
I could see it. They just need maybe one more
I think they have the two best European basketball players in the entire NBA.
Arguably the best European basketball players ever.
Yeah.
But, that's all right. But, hey, we'll move on here to... some regional news, and we'll go over the Jets and Wild trade deadline. You want to catch us up with what the Jets did?
Well, first of all, the Jets lost to the Wild, which is it's good for you, but we're still first place in the Central Division. But the Jets actually made 6 trades on deadline day, which is the most of any team and the maximum trades you can make per season, which is pretty incredible. So it shows that Kevin Cheveldayoff, the GM, he's really making a push for the the Stanley Cup this year, and possibly because I personally I think their window was last year plus 2, maybe 3. So
fair enough.
So I think that because with their pending free agents that they're going to have to pay a lot of people, so they're going to lose some people.
They got some big contracts coming
Definitely.
up.
But their biggest trade was getting Kevin Hayes from the New York Rangers.
That's a huge plus.
Huge upgrade at second line center for them. They lost Brendan Lemieux, who's a young talent, and he was playing well, but Kevin Hayes is definitely an upgrade. They did the exact same thing last year with Paul Stastny. They traded for him at the deadline. Kevin Hayes is a pending free agent, so it's more of like a...
Is it also a guaranteed rental, do you think?
No, I think Kevin Hayes could re-sign
you think so?
in the offseason, but right now it's a rental because there's no way of, like, he hasn't signed an extension or anything like that. There's no way of knowing
not like
what
Mark
he's going to do
Stone once he got to Vegas, he signed an immediate...
as soon as he was traded, he signed an extension.
Right,
and that was an 8-year extension, which is crazy.
I think that's similar to Max Pacioretty when he got traded to the Knights too.
Yeah, I mean they want their guys long term.
That is definitely relevant and evident. But hey, kudos to them for being able to lock up guys and before they hit free agency and that was rebuild.
Absolutely, but that was the Jets' biggest trade, and that was the with comparing him to Stastny last year. Stastny had 40 points at that point by the deadline, and Kevin Hayes has 42, so very comparable, players at that point in the season. So we'll see where it takes them in the playoffs. They also lost Josh Morrissey for 4 to 8 weeks. They're one of their best defensemen, so they got Nathan Beaulieu from the Sabres, and they also took Matt Hendricks back from the Wild.
Didn't need him anyways.
It's okay. Matt Hendricks is a Winnipeg loves Matt Hendricks. I don't know why, but. He's not like a great player, but he'll score a gritty goal every now and then, and it makes everybody go nuts. So.
From my understanding, for a short time here, which was half a season, he's a fourth line scrapper that just like to fly around and hit people. Yeah. But
we like
he
that
brought
Winnipeg,
he brought a lot of hype and motivation to the team. He was a very outgoing, personality-wise person. I believe he kept the game fun, and I think that's why a lot of the fans like him, and definitely his teammates. He's always bringing positive attitude to the game, and just let the guys know that, hockey's still fun at the end of the day. But moving on to the Wild. Wow, do I have a lot of things to say about those guys today. So to just highlight over the trade deadline they did, Granlund for Fiala. They obviously sent Hendricks to Winnipeg for a 7th rounder. Coyle for Ryan Donato, and Niederreiter for Rask. Those are the major notable trades that the Minnesota Wild had this year. And I personally think is good. I hate seeing Granlund and Niederreiter go, but is necessary because both those guys are 26, and the Wild had the oldest team in the NHL.
It's rebuilding time for you guys.
Is it? We're back in the playoff hunt, baby. And beat the Jets. We're down, 3-1, 2-1 the entire game last night when they beat them. Score a nice goal. Ryan Donato's been racking up the points. He's got 6 points in the past 4 games since coming to Minnesota. And then Joel Eriksson-Ek, who's finally learned how to play hockey after 3 years in between the AHL and the NHL. Hey, kudos to him. He finally figured it out. And then Kevin Fiala in exchange for Mikael Granlund. As much as I hate to say it, that's an upgrade for the Wild. They got younger 4 years for him. Same with Donato for Coyle. 4 years younger, and I believe also a lot less for contract. And this is important for Minnesota.
Yeah.
They have people that shoot the puck first instead of pass. Minnesota had this tendency, from what I noticed whenever I watched their games, they tried looking for the perfect shot instead of taking the good shot.
Yeah.
They overpassed, they overplayed, they're in their own heads. With Kevin Fiala and Ryan Donato, and I think a little bit Victor Rask, but not so much, they're more of, if I have a clear shot, I'm going to take it. Donato is evident in that. Kevin Fiala in his first game, he's doing a lot of good forechecking. He stripped the puck a couple times and had some close goals.
He's probably pretty motivated coming to a new team.
He's also very motivated in the fact that the GM that drafted him in Nashville traded for him in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's huge.
And he understands that GM traded a very good player and fan-loved player in Mikael Granlund who can, at a very inconvenience to his family, when he found out he was traded, I believe his birthday and his fiance was giving birth to their son, I think it was, on that same day.
That's a business.
Hockey is a business at the end of the day.
Every sport is.
But congratulations to Michael and his continued family, which I think is awesome. But at the same time, it's at the end of the day, it's a business, and Kevin Fiala realized that, and he's just beyond excited for a second chance and a renewed chance because Nashville's kind of giving up on him. They didn't really see him fitting much into their lines. But this leads me to what grinds my gears for today. I know you probably don't have much because the Jets have been playing pretty good, and the Ducks finally decided to tank for their own benefit.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with both of what they did on deadline day.
But for me, what grinds my gears is the Wild played so bad for this entire season up until recently that it took for Paul Fenton to trade away Coyle, Granlund, and Niederreiter. And he is close to dealing Jason Zucker, too, at the deadline, which I'm glad he didn't because we need fast guys. And Jason Zucker is like the only fast person on the team next to newly acquired Kevin Fiala. But it took them this long to realize that, oh, hey, we should probably play hockey, otherwise we're done. We're going to get traded. And who knows where they're going to end up. They could go to Edmonton and play with McDavid and still be bottom of the division. But I'm really getting sick and tired of Minnesota sports in general.
Move.
I can't. I'm still in college. But Minnesota sports has this knack and tendency to, we'll play good, but then we'll tease you and start sucking, or we're going to choke in the playoffs, or we're going to have this really, really good season and then just fall off the face of a cliff. Or we're going to suck at the beginning, then just happen to go on a huge streak and then still let your hopes down in the playoffs. This is getting beyond frustrating. I don't know what to do with Minnesota sports. Part of the reason why I started liking teams outside of Minnesota because they're more reliable and they actually are.
But it's hard to erase that loyalism to your home.
It is. As much as I hate on the Vikings at times, they're still my second favorite team.
Nice. Right.
Hey, Randy Moss, when he went to the Patriots, loved that move. And then I fell in love with that team. I mean, you can't fault me for following a guy around.
No, I can't because I followed Brett Favre straight to the Vikings, and I supported them when they went to the NFC Championship that year. And to this day, I've mentioned it several times. That's Adrian Peterson's fault, not Brett Favre's fault.
But you're on the same side with me on that, which is nice for once.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
But you're right. When it comes to the state where you're from, or your home city, or your home country, wherever, because you're from Canada, so you have to like any team that's from Canada, kind of, sort of. There's always that sense of loyalty to where you're from and your roots, and that's respectable. You always have to, in the background, cheer for your team, but at the same time, it's just, you wish they would do something different or they'd figure it out. But that's my rant for today. That's what grinds my gears. I hope Minnesota can actually get some more reliable sports teams, but, that's just how it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you don't know until you play.
Well, we'll move on to some breaking news from last night regarding local UMC sports. First off, the women's basketball team fell to the University of Sioux Falls in their it was basically a play-in game to get to the conference tournament at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls. They fell in that game, so congrats to them on a good season. But the men's team, who were also playing in Sioux Falls...
Huge news, fans.
Huge news. But they, as the 7th seed, upset the 2 seed Augustana. So they will be playing Winona State, who is the 6th seed, because they also had an upset.
Who'd they beat?
I have to look.
Well, I'll just reiterate for the fans why this is such a huge win for University of Minnesota Crookston. This is the first conference or the first playoff win for men's basketball in program history.
Since entering D2,
Since entering D2 NSIC program history.
And that's 20 years of history right there.
20 years of history. I'm really happy and glad to see how far that the sports teams come. I really like some of the progress being made by our sports teams here on campus. It's great to see coaches committed to bettering the future. I really do believe some of them are in the process. We're not going to get into any details, but to keep it between Zach and I here, it's just There's a lot of stuff we like, and there's obviously going to be stuff we don't like, but, that's just how it is. Everyone has their opinions, but...
Yeah, the Winona State beat Duluth in Duluth, and we beat Augustana at Augustana in Sioux Falls. So this coming Sunday, there's going to be a bus provided by the school for any students that want to go down to the game. The game's at 2:30 on Sunday, and the bus is free, and there'll be snacks on it, and it'll leave
snacks?
it. Yeah, I'm personally going.
Do you have an inside scoop on what these snacks are?
I don't yet, no, but I've been tasked with promoting it to the whole campus through various social media outlets. So we'll use this one as one of them. So to anybody listening, this Sunday at 8 a.m. there will be a bus leaving from here to head to Sioux Falls for the playoff game.
Hashtag Pack the Pentagon.
Hashtag Pack the Pentagon. And this is a very winnable game against Winona since they already took down Augustana. The men's team has been playing great team basketball as of late, and that's something that Coach Dan has been pushing. But Harrison left the floor for 1 minute, and they also tied a school record and hit 18 threes in that game on the road.
They came to play. They were on fire.
Absolutely, and the men's team wasn't good on the road this year at all, quite frankly. And the fact that they could pull out an amazing win like that speaks a lot to their coaching and what they've been able to do this season.
You play hard during the season, and you play out of your mind in the playoffs.
Congrats to the men's team, and we'll see you Sunday and then Monday for the semifinals, hopefully, and then next Wednesday for the conference championship if we make it there. But we'll wrap it up with some wacky sports news. Greg, you found something on Bartolo Colon being goofy once again.
Good old Big Sexy. He was recently spotted on this huge yacht in an ocean drinking beer out of a champagne glass.
Living his life.
That is classy. But there's some fan-sided theories here. Because this is CC Sabathia's last year, and him and Bartolo have very similar ERAs, wins and losses. So really it comes down to who's going to be the ultimate GOAT in terms of two large pitchers, because CC Sabathia is no small guy either. So it's kind of just the boil down of two iconic baseball pitchers and their last hurrah. So I would think this is Bartolo's last year because he's having really hard trouble finding teams to play for. But, that dude still performs. So I guess we'll see. And then there's something about Wes McCauley and the NHL when it comes to announcing goals or penalties or anything. There's been some chatter amongst other sports radio hosts about Wes McCauley should give a seminar to any other ref or umpire, just in general, that, hey, this is how you can make sports fun on the officiating side. Just kind of pull people's chains, take your time announcing things, and ultimately just make it lively. Just be able to irritate the fans just enough to where they want to kind of get mad, but at the same time, they're still involved because they're waiting for you to make an announcement.
Yeah.
And then there's some good old news against the former Packers coach.
Yeah. Mike McCarthy being a fool once again.
Want to shed a little light on that?
Yeah. I used to be a huge Mike McCarthy fan. Obviously, he got us our Super Bowl in my lifetime, which I'll always be thankful for. But his coaching style just went out of style over the past couple of years. So I'm not a big fan of him anymore. But in this wacky news, McCarthy was at his stepson's high school basketball game, and he followed the refs to the locker room to go on a verbal tirade against them. And I think this is just kind of funny because he didn't really do that as much as a coach of the Packers. But when it comes to his stepson, he decided to go off for a high school basketball game. But we'll let Mike McCarthy do him, and we'll see where he ends up following not this year, but next year.
Nothing like a good old dedicated dad, huh?
Yeah.
Can't yell at refs in the NFL field, so you just yell at some refs at a basketball game. When you like yelling at people, why not?
Right.
So thanks for listening to Calling an Audible. We will be back in action next week with more episodes slated to hit Spotify. We are now officially on Google Play as well. and YouTube, but don't worry, we're going to be getting to iTunes soon once we figure out our technical difficulties. And as always, we appreciate you listening. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter at CallAudiblePod. We aren't afraid to interact with you guys on the Twitterverse, and we like to include you in daily discussions, or if you have any questions, feel free to DM us. We'll even maybe answer some on the show. See what happens. We like to be vocal with our fans, so by all means, hit us up, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Calling an Audible is made possible through the assistance of the University of Minnesota Crookston Media Services Department and executive producer James Pagachnik. The views expressed on Calling an Audible are not necessarily the views of the University of Minnesota Crookston or its affiliates.